Welcome back to SwitchCorner. Today we're taking a look at Nexomon Extinction for the Nintendo Switch. This is, and it's obvious, a clone of classic Pokemon adventures, but it's bringing along a few small touches to try and, separate itself from its influence. Now, can it do that? Well, that's very much what I'm here to find out, so hit subscribe if you love the Switch, as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and let's get started. So story, and I gotta say, Nexomon Extinction, it comes out of the gate challenging expectations. This is not the cutesy world of Pokemon. Here, the world found its way to the brink of destruction following a war between Nexomons and humans. In this world, Nexomons were once ruled by a tyrannical king that goes by the name of Omnicron. They had basically one goal: destroy everyone and everything. Fortunately, man was able to overcome this threat though, when a small band of heroes, they found a way to tame the Nexomons and basically turn Omnicron's soldiers against him to slay him. So with the war over, Nexomon and humans, they now live in harmony, and that's where you very much come in. You play a young orphan who has graduated as a tamer, so a trainer basically, and you're about to get your first Nexomon and set out on an adventure. You're not a trainer here though, you're not going to gyms to be, the best there ever was. You're here working for a guild. You solve the world's problems one fight at a time, with badges here representing your rank. That's all I'm going to give you story-wise. The devs are understandably sensitive to spoilers, and I want to respect that with the information I give, along with the footage I am showing. Story though, I gotta say, really enjoyed it for a couple of reasons. One, it's more adult in its tonality than most of the monster catcher counterparts out there, and then two, it's got this really unique sense of humour to it all, where it's not scared to make fun of itself, slip into almost parody, or actually demonstrate its self-aware, which in turn actually means it's kind of taking a few digs at the genre, and of course specifically Pokemon along the way. Now, to give you an idea, there's a moment where two characters, they're chasing each other in a circle on screen, and a character jumps in to say, well, the devs must have been tight on budget here. Then even the opening moments of the game, you're sent into a dark, creepy forest to catch your first Nexomon, and the character questions, you're sending two kids in alone to this creepy forest, and you don't think nothing bad's gonna happen? Have you ever played an RPG? This Yume won't be for everyone, but I thought it was honestly great. It was refreshing, as it kind of establishes the tone from the get-go with a ton of wisecracks and characters that are less than likable, but obviously intentionally. I really liked this last bit because they were questioning my ability and skill, and it made me even more determined to not only prove them wrong, but kind of want to kick their ass along the way too. Nexomon though, I've got to say, with all this said, it does a good job of balance throughout, never finding itself in these comedic moments for too long. It knows when to crack a joke and when to push the story forward. Overall, I was impressed. I was actually laughing. I grew to kind of learn the unique personalities of this world, and there's more than a fair share of twists along the way as things escalate with the story. It just helps it create its own unique personality while acknowledging, yes, I am a Pokemon clone, but that's not always a bad thing. It is a billion-dollar franchise after all, so I mean, there's a lot worse influences out there. So gameplay on Nexomon is a throwback to the Pokemon of old. This is not, Sword or Shield, but something more reminiscent of those early classics. I was there back in the 90s, black and white screen, Game Boy Pokemon Red. What a game that was, and that's exactly what they are going for here. Gameplay really comes down to three things: capture all 301 Nexomon, take on story quests, and then complete optional side quests if you want to, optional being the key word. Quests are basically navigate to this place and collect something or fight someone. Now as you progress though, so does your status, and that will lead to more challenging missions and of course bigger rewards alongside the main story arc. Kicking things off though, like any good entry in the genre, you'll get the choice of your first Nexomon and then quickly gain your starting badge, which is a bronze level. With the starting Nexomon you get a choice of 8, all with their own unique elements. Gameplay, honestly, nothing new, move up, down, left and right, no diagonal movement here, and then basically talk to locals, accept quests, and make your way across this world. Along the way, I will say expect a battle of tamers, fight and capture wild Nexomon, and do things like shop for items and mine for stone that you can sell with a trusty pickaxe that you buy pretty much in the opening moments. Fighting here though is not random, it's worth knowing. Tamers have swords across their heads and grass will shake when a Nexomon is there. The only time you'll see a random battle is in dungeons. So where Nexomon surprised me though, the challenge, my first major battle, swiftly just got my ass handed to me. In fact, I just mashed the attack button because I thought I was actually supposed to lose this fight. I thought it was part of the story. Turns out I was very wrong when the game threw me back to my last checkpoint. Thankfully, I will say Nexomon has a frequent autosave and it is an absolute godsend. Now at this point I sat up though and took notice because I don't remember the last time I played a Pokemon game that, you know, kicked my ass. Now this, I gotta admit, it's a balance issue in the opening hour or so of the game. That first major Tyrants, you've got no chance if you like head straight there like I did. Just to overcome it, you'll need to grind it out for maybe an hour or so, or like fight along the way of the journey. After this point you should be fine, but you will still lose, don't get me wrong, it never becomes easy. This was me living kind of with Pokemon expectations, and Nexomon quickly put that idea to bed. My suggested like starting strategy here, because I think a lot of people are actually going to give up at this point, is grind it out with just one Nexomon, get them good and super strong, then capture the other 5 to make up your party of 6 a little later in the game when you'll be crossing like higher level Nexomon in the wild. If you went the route of like leveling up the whole party, it would just take way too long because the awarded XP, it only goes to those that do battle and not those that are, you know, sitting on the sideline watching, so it's time consuming to say the least. On that note as well, naturally the more XP you get, the stronger your Nexomon gets, leading to evolutions. My main message here though is don't give up. I think the devs do need to address it, but behind this like initial spike there is a really great game hiding there. So on the note of battles then as well, I was impressed, but they rely actually more on inventory management than most. Rarely will you survive a match on like a single health bar, so you should go in fully equipped with, you know, like potions for health and elixir for your SP meter. Every single move here costs SP and it depletes quickly, and then it auto fills but at like the slowest pace ever. You will not want to wait. At first I wasn't actually sure about the combat, but I gotta say I grew to enjoy it as I adapted to what the game expected from me. I wasn't thinking about just my next move and mashing buttons to get through menus, but thinking about what my next 2, 3, 4 moves would be, what my strategy was. On that note, while I talk about strategy as well, it's probably a good time to mention as well, it might be cutesy looking, but it's not for kids. Not only will the humour not land with them, but I'm confident saying the challenge here is just going to be too much. I'd say probably teens upwards here. They need to not only like understand the Pokemon formula, but then adapt to like a new set of rules that ain't quite as soft and cuddly. I mean, even capturing Nexomon here, you'll throw the Pokeball thing that I've gone blank on the name of, it's a triangle instead, and you'll need to quickly work through a set of commands all before a timer hits 0. Nothing here is handed to you, and I gotta say that's both for the good of the game and the bad. So that actually leads perfectly into problems. The core game, there's actually very little wrong with it outside of that initial like difficulty spike that you'll overcome with a little beginner patience. But something that absolutely haunted me throughout was the tutorial and just the game's general way of delivering new information to you, or should I say in this case, lack of. An early example, 8 Nexomon to choose from but no explanation of what the 8 elements are. It's not too difficult to work out, but still a little bit of text wouldn't have hurt. Likewise, what Nexomon work best against another Nexomon? Yeah, you'll need to figure that out for yourself too. How about status effects in battle? Again, no explanation. Why in the trailer do I see a Nexomon following me on the map, but I don't see it in my version? Turns out it's hidden in an options menu. Honestly, it's a bit crap anyway and just annoying, and I turned it off nearly immediately, but it still would have been nice to have known like how to do it. Also, how about shards that I can attach to my Nexomon to boost attributes? I'd collected like 7 of these things before the game explained to me how to use them. The game's difficult anyways, it doesn't benefit from like this artificial difficulty in these moments down to lack of education. Now a less important problem then as well, you'll find yourself stuck repeating battles trying to overcome them, but you can't skip cutscenes, so you'll often find yourself watching the same thing over and over again, slowly losing your patience. It's rare I say this, but it would have benefited from a little more hand-holding, even just a guide on the menu or something like that. So the only other parts to gameplay then are nothing you won't be used to. Healing centers, because Nexomon don't auto-heal after battles, so you'll be backtracking there a lot in the early days. Characters to meet, collectibles to find, secret rooms, and then of course the world to explore. It's not the biggest of maps, but it is varied and the locations were always unique, and the game does give you fast travel nearly immediately, which really honestly is appreciated. Overall, like, I went in with Pokemon expectations, meaning something kind of chill and easy that I could relax to. Then Nexomon punched me in the face and said screw that. While I do believe that it needs a whole lot more kind of in the way of explanation and some softening with the initial difficulty curve, I can't deny it was kind of refreshing and exciting as someone who's kind of got comfortable with, you know, that Pokemon output. It made me realize in fact how comfortable I had become now and how low my expectations truly are at times. This felt like I played Pokemon Red as a kid in the 90s, and now here's the evolution in difficulty and it's growing along with me. Even if it does have problems, that's exciting, even if the game does do its best, initially at least, to kind of make you give up. So graphically speaking then, I like it for the most part. If you didn't know, the original Nexomon was iOS and Android, and this is essentially its bigger sibling. I say that because it's brought along a few of its graphical nuances from its previous life. Like, overall the visuals super vibrant, lots of variety in locations, some nice animations as well, and character models. Even the like chibi style worked for me because they are backed up in dialogue by more like anime style characters. I think the mistakes made here though, the Nexomon themselves, they're a little too close to their Pokemon equivalents. They should have probably flexed their creativity just a tiny bit more. Then there's these awful symbols all over the shop, you know, above our characters' heads, swords for tamers saying they want to battle, expressions to represent emotion. They look cheap, especially against such sharp and clean visuals. Then as well, finally the story, it's pretty epic in its nature, but the only thing we get here are still images that I can't deny look great, don't get me wrong, but I would have loved to have seen just some true, like, you know, cutscenes with animation. At that point though, I do want to remind you of something that I kind of had to remind myself of when I was kind of thinking this, and that is, this is a $20 game or your local equivalent, not 60, not 40, 20, a third of a Pokemon entry, and maybe we need to factor that in as I ask for, you know, anime cutscenes. Audio then, and this was the nicest surprise of the entire package. While there's very little on the sound effect front, minus the occasional battle sound, it was the music. Didn't expect much, and it's surprisingly catchy with different themes, of course, for like different locations. The battle music, I'll admit that kind of started to grate with me a little bit towards the end game, but honestly overall, this is one you're going to walk away from like humming the tune and then going slightly crazy as you try and work out where the hell did I hear this song. It's one of those ones that's just memorable but also inoffensive enough that it won't annoy you too much. A good thing when the game's got it constantly on loop. So overall, Nexomon Extinction destroyed my expectations. Going in, I thought, here we go, another standard Pokemon clone that relies on me wanting to, you know, catch them all, and that's about it. Honestly, the game doesn't really push the whole catching them all on you, and I did very little of it. It just wasn't for me personally, not knowing these characters. What did hook me though, the fact it didn't shy away from kicking my ass throughout. The story that was surprisingly interesting with some unexpected twists and turns. The weird sense of humour that will not be for everyone but landed for me personally as it asked questions I couldn't help but agree with, like, yes, Nexomon, why would adults send kids into a dungeon? As I was screaming at my screen in agreement. Even the locals who were like seriously sarcastic to the point of me being excited to beat them in battle, that's a nice touch. This humour is largely what separates it, as it's a bold move to poke fun at the fluffy and cute world of Pokemon. Nexomon knows it's a clone, but it doesn't mean it has to have the same like sensibilities. That said though, like I've said, it has its problems, that's for sure. Those opening couple of hours, brutally difficult, forcing early game grinding. They need to fix that as soon as possible, and then they need to add more information and tutorials. I respect the idea of no hand-holding, but some of the information should be there for us to access, and it just feels a little lazy in that sense, or at least, you know, overlooked would probably be a better way to put it. Then visually, the still images, they just don't do the text and story justice. And the Nexomon, I wish they were a little more creative instead of so many feeling like, you know, cheap knockoffs. It made me personally at least less interested in them. Battle through these issues though, and Nexomon will like reward you, or at least it did for me. Today I'm going to be giving Nexomon Extinction a good 7 out of 10. Honestly, I will say I was leaning towards a 6 initially, but factor in the price, you're getting a lot of game here for the money, and any any older Pokemon fans should enjoy this one. Just know this score comes with a stipulation that you'll need to figure a lot of these things out for yourself. I'm often really tough on games with my scores, and this one today might be seen as kind of generous, but I had a fantastic time with it. It's been the longest time since the formula itself excited me, and Nexomon at least achieved that. With that, look, a huge shout out then to the patrons of SwitchCorner who are just going above and beyond to support it. We've actually had a new one join us today, so thank you all so much. It helps more than you know. If you want to check that out for yourself, it is linked in the video description down below. Then, hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.